Submarines are a type of ship that can operate on the surface of the water as well as below it. Submarines first became useful to society during World War I, when they were used as battleships for war. U-boats, a shortened version of the German word for submarine, are a type of submarine that Germany invented. Germany was the last major country to get submarines, but they caught up quickly and manufactured many of their advanced U-boats before the start of the war. U-boat crews often had very poor conditions inside the small, cramped boats, but they were still one of the greatest inventions used in World War I. Most submarines that were designed for war had around 10 torpedoes on each boat. Torpedoes were large, self-propelled weapons that had an explosive head. They were usually shot from ships or submarines. Torpedoes were the main weapon used to sink other ships on the water because they were designed to explode on impact. Who invented submarines, U-boats, and torpedoes? Before modern submarines, many simple, older submarines were hand-powered, including the Turtle by David Bushnell, made in 1775 during the American Revolutionary War. The inventor of the first real modern submarine was John Philip Holland, who invented the Holland line of submarines in the late 19th century. This was the first submarine that had a separate electric motor for underwater propulsion, as well as combustion engine that was used for above surface travel. These were initially sold to the British Royal Navy in late 1901, which added many new weapons to them, for example, deck guns. The German U-boats were invented and designed by many different engineers, but most were from the German shipbuilding company Friedrich Krupp Germania Werft. A major engineer was Gustav Berling, who based his design of the U-1 U-boat on the Spanish Carp-class submarine. The Germania Werft company manufactured many of the U-boats used in World War I. The most commonly used torpedoes were the Whitehead torpedoes, which were invented by Robert Whitehead. These torpedoes were used in almost all submarines that were designed for war. What are submarines, U-boats, and torpedoes? U-boats were German submarines that were commonly used in World War I to sink thousands of cargo ships as well as many passenger ships too. Most U-boats were equipped with deck guns for shooting on the surface of the water, as well as large underwater torpedoes. The conditions inside the U-boats were also very poor, like factory conditions but much worse. The crew of 50 often had to share 2 to 3 toilets, and they lived in the constant heat and humidity. The British had some submarines, which were designed to destroy the German U-boats. The R-class British submarines were made to be smaller, shorter, and weigh less. This allowed them to only have one propeller and still get speeds up to 15 knots, which was very fast for underwater submarine travel at the time. The German torpedoes were long steel tubes packed with an explosive head. They either had a compressed air engine or a steam engine to propel them through the water. It propels them at speeds around 35 knots and travels 3 to 5 miles away from the ship that launched it. Where and when were submarines, U-boats, and torpedoes used? German U-boats specifically were manufactured at the beginning of the war, due to Germany having an incredibly weak navy at the time. The U-boats were used a lot during the war, initially to sink military boats, but later to sink commercial trading boats as well. Their first major strike happened in September of 1914. Off the coast of Scotland they defeated a small British light cruiser. It killed roughly 250 people. Next, they went on to shoot down many more military ships around Britain, killing many more sailors. Even with all these victories, they still lost more U-boats than boats they sunk during the first few months of the war. Then, Germany announced unrestricted submarine warfare, which allowed them to shoot down any ships that came within a certain war zone around Britain. The U-boats later sunk the Lusitania off the coast of Ireland in May of 1915, killing more than 1,200 people in the process. U-boats even came to American waters and sank many ships that were docked in harbors. We're still finding U-boats all across the world today that have been sunk during battle. Significance. Why were submarines, U-boats, and torpedoes extremely important for World War I? U-boats and other submarines were significant because they were extremely critical for the development of many more advanced modern submarines that were used in later wars, such as World War II or the Cold War. Important for World War I because they provided major assistance to the war effort, because they stopped lots of food and other goods from reaching the enemy, specifically Great Britain. U-boats also played a significant reason to why the United States joined the war, leading to Germany's defeat. U-boats sunk lots of American goods and killed lots of American passengers from all the ships that they sank. This caused the United States to join the war. It turned out that the fresh forces and the fresh goods were all that were needed to win the war for the Allies.